The endless black of space stretched out before Captain Jack Harlow as he stared through the main viewport of the salvage vessel Prospector. Chunks of space debris drifted by, glinting in the distant starlight. This uncharted sector was supposed to be empty, just floating junk and dust. But his scanner had picked up something big, something metal, something old. "You sure about this, Captain?" Lisa asked, her fingers dancing over the navigation controls. Her short red hair caught the blue glow of the console lights. "We're way off our normal route." Jack nodded, his weathered face set with determination. "The scanner doesn't lie. Something's out there. Something big. Better be worth the fuel," grumbled Tom from the engineering station. The old mechanic had been with Jack for 15 years and still complained about every detour. The Prospector pushed forward through the debris field, its lights cutting through the darkness. Then suddenly they saw it. "Holy stars," whispered Lisa. Floating silently in the void was a massive warship. Its dark hull was scarred with blast marks. Parts of it were torn open, showing the ship's insides. But despite the damage, it was clearly intact. And it was huge, at least 5 times bigger than the Prospector. "Is that human design?" Tom asked, leaning forward. Jack checked the database. "It's the UES Vengeance, a warship from the First Contact War." His voice dropped to a whisper. "It was reported destroyed over 200 years ago." The crew fell silent. Everyone knew about the First Contact War. How humanity had reached for the stars, only to meet the Krell. An alien empire that saw humans as a threat. The war had nearly wiped out Earth. Humans now lived on just a few colony worlds, always under the shadow of Krell rule. "We should call this in," Lisa said finally, reaching for the comm system. Jack caught her wrist. "To who?" "The Krell. So they can take it away." He shook his head. "This is the find of a lifetime. We're checking it out first." Lisa frowned. "Jack, that's a military vessel. There could be automated defenses, traps." "After 200 years, doubtful," Jack replied. "Besides, salvage law is clear. Finder's rights." An hour later, Jack, Lisa, and Tom floated through the empty corridors of the Vengeance, their magnetic boots clicking against the metal floor when they chose to use them. Their helmet lights cut through the darkness, revealing a ship frozen in time. "Look at this," Tom said, shining his light on a wall covered in blast marks. "They fought hard." Jack nodded grimly. The signs of battle were everywhere. Makeshift barricades, empty weapon casings, and darker stains that he tried not to think about. "The ship's huge," Lisa noted, checking her scanner. "Power readings are minimal. But wait, there's something active in the center of the ship. Very low energy signature." They followed the signal through winding corridors until they reached a sealed door marked AI Core. "Authorized DP personnel only." "Can we get in?" Jack asked. Tom examined the door. "No power to the lock. We'll have to force it." It took all 3 of them to push the heavy door open. Inside, they found a room filled with what looked like outdated computer equipment. In the center was a glowing blue cube, pulsing weakly. "That's the ship's AI core," Lisa said, scanning it. "Somehow it's still running on emergency power after all this time." Jack approached the cube. "Can we talk to it?" Lisa shook her head. "Not enough power. It's barely maintaining itself." Tom reached into his pack and pulled out a portable power cell. "This might help. It's not much, but—" "Do it," Jack ordered. Lisa grabbed his arm. "Jack, think about this. Activating an unknown military AI. We have no idea what its last orders were, what protocols it's following." Jack looked around the dead ship, feeling the weight of its history. "This is our history, Lisa. Human history. Don't you want to know what happened here?" Before she could answer, Tom connected the power cell to the AI core. The blue glow brightened, and the cube began to hum. A voice, crackling and distorted, filled the room. "Systems. Rebooting. Emergency power detected. Activating limited functions. A hologram flickered to life above the cube. The image of a man in an old Earth military uniform, his features sharp and serious. "I am Victor, artificial intelligence of the United Earth ship Vengeance. Identify yourselves." Jack stepped forward. "Captain Jack Harlow of the salvage vessel Prospector. This is my first officer Lisa and my engineer Tom." The hologram seemed to study them. Date verification required. "It's March 2, 2425, Lisa said. The hologram flickered. "Processing. 203 years since my last active status. Situation assessment required. Is Earth? Did Earth survive?" The three humans exchanged glances. "Earth survived," Jack said carefully. "But it's not what it was. The Krell won the war. Humans live on a few colony worlds now, under Krell rule." Victor's hologram showed no emotion, but the blue light of the cube pulsed more quickly. Unacceptable outcome. The Vengeance was created to prevent this very scenario. The AI paused. "Captain Harlow, this vessel contains technologies that were experimental even during the war. Weapons systems, defensive capabilities, and propulsion methods that were never deployed elsewhere." Jack felt his heart rate increase. "Are you saying this ship still works?" "With repairs, yes. I have maintained critical systems in low-power hibernation, following my final directive: survive and protect humanity's legacy." Suddenly, alarms blared through the room. Victor's hologram looked up sharply. "Warning. Unknown vessel approaching. Configuration matches Krell scout ship." Lisa's scanner beeped urgently. "He's right. Krell signatures. They must have detected our power-up. We need to go." "Now," Tom said, already heading for the door. Jack hesitated, looking at the AI core. "Victor." The hologram nodded. "You must leave. The Vengeance is not ready for combat. But take this." A small data port opened on the cube. "Connect your data tablet. I will download a compressed copy of myself. Humanity must know what happened here." As the alarms grew louder, Jack quickly connected his tablet. Data streamed into it for a few seconds, then stopped. "Go," Victor said. "Return when you can. The Vengeance awaits its crew." The three humans raced back through the corridors toward their ship. Just as they reached the airlock, they saw the Krell scout ship approaching through the viewport. "They haven't spotted us yet," Lisa said. "If we power down and drift out on minimal thrusters." "Do it," Jack ordered. As the Prospector silently slipped away from the ancient warship, Jack looked down at his tablet. The screen glowed with a simple message: "Humanity's last hope restored. Awaiting instructions." The hunt had begun, and the forgotten ship would soon become the deadliest in the universe. 3 days after their narrow escape from the Krell scout ship, Jack sat in his small apartment on Nova Harbor. The largest remaining human settlement wasn't much to look at, just a cluster of buildings under a protective dome on a rocky moon. But it was home to almost 50,000 humans, living out their lives under the watchful eyes of their Krell rulers. Jack stared at his data tablet, which sat on his cluttered desk. He hadn't dared connect it to any network since returning. The compressed AI named Victor might be the most valuable and dangerous thing on Nova Harbor. A soft knock on his door made him jump. "It's me," Lisa called quietly. Jack let her in, checking the hallway before closing the door. "Any news?" Lisa nodded, her face grim. 3 Krell enforcers were asking questions at the docks today, showing pictures of the Prospector. "They know something." "How?" "We didn't file a report. We didn't tell anyone. The scout ship must have spotted us after all." Lisa sat heavily on Jack's worn couch. "Tom says we should wipe the tablet and forget we ever found that ship." Jack shook his head. "We can't. This is too important." He picked up the tablet. "We need to know what's on here." "Jack, be reasonable. That's a military AI from a warship. Connecting it to any system is asking for trouble." "Then we'll be careful." Jack pulled an old computer terminal from his closet. This is a standalone system, not connected to any network. We can see what Victor has to say without risking anything. Lisa didn't look convinced, but she helped Jack set up the terminal. When everything was ready, Jack connected the tablet. The screen flickered, then filled with scrolling data. After a moment, a simplified version of Victor's hologram appeared. Captain Harlow, you have successfully extracted me from the Vengeance. Thank you. Jack leaned forward. Victor, what exactly are you? What is the Vengeance? The hologram seemed to consider this. I am a fifth-generation military artificial intelligence created for the U.S. Vengeance, Earth's final weapon in the First Contact War. I was designed to learn, adapt, and preserve humanity's knowledge and technology. And the Vengeance? Lisa asked. The most advanced warship ever built by human hands, constructed in secret using reverse-engineered Krell technology, combined with human innovations. Victor's hologram paused. I need to understand the current situation. How did the war end? What is humanity's status? Jack and Lisa exchanged looks. Then Jack explained how, according to history, humans had started the war through their aggression. How the Krell had mercifully spared Earth, but restricted humans to a handful of colonies under strict control. How humanity had been contained for the greater good. Victor's hologram flickered with what almost looked like anger. Lies. All lies. The eye's voice became sharper. The First Contact War began when human scientists discovered a fatal flaw in Krell faster-than-light drive technology. A flaw that would eventually lead to catastrophic failures across their fleet. What? Jack felt cold suddenly. That's not what we've been taught. When humanity attempted to share this information, the Krell leadership feared losing their technological advantage. They struck first, destroying Earth's major cities and research centers. Victor's image stabilized. The Vengeance was our answer. A ship with technology decades ahead of anything else humans had built. Lisa shook her head in disbelief. If that's true, why did we lose? The ship was never fully deployed. During its maiden voyage, a Krell strike team managed to board. In the ensuing battle, most of the crew was killed. The captain activated emergency protocols before dying. I was instructed to protect the ship and wait for rescue. Victor's voice softened. A rescue that never came. Until now. Jack sat back, his mind racing. The Krell lied about everything. They've been controlling us based on a false history, and they might still need human help, Victor added. If my calculations were correct, the flaw in their FTL drive would begin to manifest serious problems approximately 200 years after our initial discovery. Which would be right about now, Lisa whispered. A loud bang on the apartment door made them all freeze. Captain Jack Harlow. A mechanical voice called from outside. By order of the Krell Imperium, open this door immediately. Jack quickly disconnected the tablet from the terminal. Is there anything else on the prospector that could connect us to the Vengeance? Lisa shook her head. Nothing they could find easily. The banging continued. Final warning. Open or we breach. Jack grabbed a bag and stuffed the tablet inside. We need to get back to the ship, back to the Vengeance. How? The prospector is probably being watched. Jack smiled grimly. Then we'll have to steal a different ship. The door exploded inward. 3 Krell enforcers stood in the hallway, their scaled bodies covered in sleek armor, weapons raised. They were tall, reptilian, with 4 arms and yellow eyes that locked onto the humans. Surrender for questioning, the lead Krell ordered. Jack glanced at the window behind him. They were only on the 2nd floor. Not today, he said, grabbing Lisa's hand. They crashed through the window together, landing hard on a lower roof. Alarms blared as they ran, ducking through the narrow alleys of Nova Harbor. The Krell would be right behind them. Tom's place is closest. Lisa panted as they ran. No, Jack replied. The docks. We need to move now. They changed direction, heading for the smaller emergency docks where courier ships were kept ready for quick missions. You have a plan. Lisa asked as they hid behind a cargo container, watching the dock security. Jack patted his bag with the tablet inside. Victor and I do. The AI's voice came from the tablet. The courier ship in Bay 3 has minimal security. Its systems are basic enough that I can interface with them. And then what? Lisa asked. The Vengeance is days away even at full speed. And the Krell will follow us, Jack added. Victor's voice remained calm. The Vengeance has technologies you cannot imagine, Captain Harlow. But I need to be restored to its systems. With your help, we can awaken the deadliest ship in the universe. A patrol of Krell soldiers marched past their hiding spot. When they were gone, Jack looked at Lisa. Are you with me? She hesitated only a moment. This is probably suicide. Probably, Jack agreed. Then let's go steal a ship. Using Victor's guidance, they managed to reach Bay 3 without being spotted. The courier ship was small but fast, designed for carrying important messages between colonies. As Jack worked on the door controls, Lisa kept watch. Jack, about what Victor said. If it's true, then everything we know is a lie. Jack finished. And we might be the only ones who can do something about it. The door slid open. They slipped inside the ship and made their way to the cockpit. Jack connected the tablet to the ship's computer. Initiating override, Victor announced. The ship's systems came to life under the AI's control. As the engines began to hum, alarms sounded across the dock. They had been discovered. Hang on, Jack said, taking the controls as Victor released them to him. This is going to be close. The small ship shot out of the bay, narrowly missing a security barrier. Behind them, Nova Harbor quickly grew smaller. Course set for the Vengeance, Victor reported. Estimated arrival in 36 hours. Jack looked at Lisa, determination in his eyes. Let's go wake up the deadliest ship in the universe. Little did they know that Admiral Dorax, the most feared Krell commander, had already received word of their escape, and he understood exactly what was at stake. The hunt had begun. The small courier ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel with a shudder. Through the viewport, Jack and Lisa could see the endless field of space debris, and beyond it, the massive shape of the UES Vengeance. But they weren't alone. Krell cruiser detected, Victor announced from the tablet. They arrived before us. Jack zoomed in on the viewing screen. A sleek, predatory-looking ship hovered near the ancient human warship. It was at least 10 times the size of their stolen courier vessel. They're trying to board the Vengeance, Lisa said, pointing to small shuttlecraft moving between the cruiser and the old warship. Jack's hands tightened on the controls. We can't fight that cruiser. No, Victor agreed, but we can avoid detection. The Krell rely heavily on energy signatures for tracking. Reduced power to minimal life support and drift on momentum. We'll be sitting ducks, Lisa protested. The Krell are focused on the Vengeance, Victor explained. Their sensors are calibrated for large power sources, not a nearly dead ship. Jack nodded and powered down almost everything. The courier ship grew cold quickly as they drifted toward the debris field, using only tiny bursts from the maneuvering thrusters. We need to reach Airlock 7, Victor instructed. It connects to a maintenance tunnel the Krell are unlikely to have discovered. For a tense hour, they floated through the debris, watching the Krell shuttles come and go. Finally, they reached the underside of the massive warship. There, Lisa whispered, pointing to a barely visible hatch. Jack carefully aligned their ship and extended the docking tube. It connected with a soft thud that seemed too loud in the quiet ship. Will the airlock even work after all this time? Lisa asked. Manual override should function, Victor replied. The Vengeance was designed to operate even with significant damage. Jack grabbed his toolkit and the tablet containing Victor. Let's find out. It took 20 minutes of careful work in their spacesuits to get the old airlock functioning. When the inner door finally creaked open, they slipped inside a dark, narrow tunnel. Where are the Krell boarding parties? Jack asked, his helmet light cutting through the darkness. Main command deck and engine room, based on their movement patterns, Victor replied. "We need to reach the AI core. From there, I can regain control of the ship's systems." They moved quietly through the maintenance tunnel, which eventually opened into a larger corridor. The ship seemed dead around them, but occasionally they heard distant sounds, metallic clangs, voices, movement. "The Krell are still searching the ship," Lisa whispered. As they approached the AI core room, Jack held up his hand, stopping them. Ahead, 2 Krell soldiers stood guard outside the door. "They found it," he whispered. Lisa pulled out her small stun pistol, the only weapon they had brought. 2 shots, maybe 3 before it's drained. Jack looked around, thinking fast. "We don't need to fight them. Look." He pointed to a control panel on the wall. Environmental controls. Understanding dawned on Lisa's face. They backtracked to the panel. Jack connected Victor's tablet to it. "Can you control this section's gravity?" he asked the AI. "Affirmative. The backup systems respond to my commands." A moment later, warning lights flashed in the corridor ahead. The 2 Krell guards looked up in confusion just as the gravity reversed. They were slammed against the ceiling, their weapons floating away uselessly. "Now," Jack urged, and they pushed forward, floating easily in their magnetic boots while the Krell struggled against the reverse gravity. They reached the AI core room and sealed the door behind them. Inside, the blue cube glowed brighter than before. The Krell had supplied it with more power for their investigation. "Connect me to the main system," Victor instructed. Jack placed the tablet against the cube's interface. Data began streaming between them, the lights in the room flickering as Victor transferred back into the ship's systems. A hologram appeared above the cube, more detailed than before. "Transfer complete. I am home." Victor's voice now came from the ship's speakers rather than the tablet. "What now?" Lisa asked, glancing nervously at the door. "The Krell cruiser is still out there, and there are boarding parties all over the ship." "Now," Victor said, "we wake the vengeance." Lights began coming on throughout the room. A low hum built around them as systems long dormant stirred to life. Emergency power activated. Primary weapons offline. Secondary weapons partially functional. Shields minimal capacity. Engines startup sequence initiated. Jack felt the deck vibrate beneath his feet. "Victor, the Krell will know the ship is powering up." Indeed, they are already returning to their cruiser. The hologram shifted to show internal sensors. Krell soldiers were rushing back toward their shuttlecraft. "We have approximately 7 minutes before they can bring weapons to bear." "Can this ship fight back?" Lisa asked. "After 200 years. Not at full capacity," Victor admitted. "But the Vengeance has one advantage. Me." An alarm sounded, and a new section of the room opened up. Inside was a chair surrounded by control interfaces, a captain's command station. "Jack Harlow," Victor said formally. "Biometric scans show you share genetic markers with Captain Thomas Harlow, this vessel's original commander and your ancestor. The ship's systems will respond best to your commands." Jack stared at the chair. "I'm no warship captain." "You don't need to be," Victor replied. "I can handle most functions. I need you for authentication and strategic decisions." The ship shuddered as the Krell cruiser fired a warning shot. "Time to decide, Captain," Lisa said, a grim smile on her face. Jack took a deep breath and sat in the command chair. Displays lit up around him, responding to his presence. He felt the ship connecting to him somehow, its systems extending his awareness. "Victor, what weapons do we have?" "Adaptive defense grid at 30%. Main cannons need another hour to charge, but we have railguns and countermeasures." The Krell cruiser fired again, this time a full attack. The Vengeance rocked under the impact. "Shields holding at minimal capacity," Victor reported. "Their weapons are powerful, but predictable." Jack gripped the arms of the chair. "Can we run?" "Engines at 40%. Enough for short-range maneuvers, not enough for escape," Victor replied. "We must fight." Then let's show them what this forgotten ship can do, Jack said, newfound determination in his voice. Target their weapons first. The Vengeance shuddered as ancient weapons came online. Railguns deployed from hidden compartments in the hull, targeting the cruiser's main weapon banks with surprising accuracy. How are you hitting them so precisely? Lisa asked, watching the tactical display in amazement. The Vengeance was designed to learn, Victor explained. Every hit we take teaches our targeting systems about their defenses. Every shot they fire reveals their weapon signatures. The Krell cruiser, caught off guard by the sudden counterattack, tried to back away. But the Vengeance was already adapting, predicting its movements. Their engines are vulnerable, Victor announced. Firing solution ready. Take the shot, Jack ordered. The railguns fired in perfect sequence. On the display, they watched as the energy blasts tore through the cruiser's engine section. Secondary explosions rippled across the Krell ship. Direct hit, Victor reported. Their main power is failing. The Krell cruiser drifted, its weapons silent, emergency lights blinking across its hull. Did we win? Lisa asked in disbelief. For now, Jack said, rising from the command chair. But they'll send more ships once they realize what happened. Victor's hologram nodded. The resurrection of the Vengeance is only beginning, Captain. Many systems remain offline. But now we have time to restore them. As repair drones activated throughout the ship, Jack looked at the tactical display showing the crippled Krell cruiser. What happens when the Vengeance is fully operational? He asked quietly. Victor's hologram seemed to stand taller. Then we reveal the truth about the war. Then we give humanity back its freedom. And then, Jack added, we become the deadliest ship in the universe. Admiral Dorax, we've lost contact with the scout cruiser. The Krell admiral turned slowly from the viewport of his command ship, his yellow eyes narrowing to slits. Unlike the common soldiers, Dorax was massive, his scaled skin bearing the ceremonial scars of 100 battles. The 4 arms of his upper body were adorned with the metal bands of high rank. Show me the last transmission, he ordered. His communication officer, a smaller Krell, quickly pulled up the data. The screen showed grainy footage of an old human warship suddenly lighting up, weapons deploying. Then static. Impossible. Dorax hissed. That ship was dead. We confirmed it decades ago. The energy readings before transmission loss were unusual, the science officer reported, not consistent with known human technology. Dorax slammed one of his fists on the command console. Prepare the battle fleet. I want that ship found and destroyed. 3 days had passed since the battle with the Krell cruiser. On the bridge of the UES Vengeance, Jack sat in the captain's chair, watching as repair drones worked tirelessly throughout the ship. Lisa and Tom, who had been picked up from a secret rendezvous point, managed different stations. Shield capacity now at 60%, Victor reported, his hologram standing beside Jack. Main weapons at 48%, engines at 70%. Not enough to face a real battle fleet, Tom said, looking up from the engineering console. Jack nodded. How long until we're at full power? At current repair rate, approximately 2 weeks, Victor replied. Lisa shook her head. We don't have 2 weeks. Every Krell ship in the sector will be looking for us. Then we don't stay here, Jack decided. Victor, can we jump to FTL? The faster-than-light drive is operational, but with limitations. We cannot sustain maximum speed. We don't need maximum. We just need to keep moving. Jack stood up and walked to the large tactical display. Show me human colonies within our range. A map appeared, showing dozens of small dots representing human settlements scattered across several star systems. We can't go to any major colony, Lisa warned. The Krell will be watching them all. What about here? Jack pointed to a small dot on the edge of the map. Outpost 37. It's a mining facility. Small population, minimal Krell presence. Victor analyzed the location. A viable option. They have resources we could use for repairs. Set course, Jack ordered. Tom, what else do we need besides basic repair materials? The old engineer thought for a moment. If this ship is as advanced as Victor claims, we need specialized components. Quantum processors, adaptive metal alloys, things you won't find at a mining outpost. Victor's hologram flickered as he processed this information. There is another option. The Vengeance was equipped with an advanced manufacturing system. With raw materials, we can fabricate most components we need. Really? Tom's eyes widened. I've never heard of technology like that. Because it was never shared with the wider human fleet, Victor explained. The Vengeance was a prototype in every way. The ship shuddered slightly as the FTL Dragon gauge. Through the viewport, stars stretched into lines as they accelerated. What else can this ship do that we don't know about? Lisa asked. Victor's hologram seemed to stand straighter. The Vengeance houses 3 key technologies that were revolutionary. The adaptive defense system, which learns from attacks and strengthens accordingly. The manufacturing system Tom will find useful. And most importantly, a solution to the Krell FTL flaw. The flaw you mentioned before, Jack remembered. The one that started the war. Correct. Human scientists discovered that the Krell faster-than-light drives create microscopic tears in spacetime. Each tear is insignificant, but the cumulative effect over centuries would be catastrophic, potentially collapsing travel routes and even inhabited systems. Lisa frowned, and the Krell attacked us instead of fixing the problem. Their leadership feared losing their technological advantage over other species, Victor explained. They believed conquering humanity would bury the knowledge forever. But it didn't, Jack said, looking at the AI. Because of you, because of this ship. Victor nodded. The Vengeance carries complete records of human research, including a modified FTL drive design that eliminates the flaw. Tom whistled. No wonder the Krell want this ship destroyed. Which is why we need to be ready when they find us, Jack said. And they will find us. They reached Outpost 37 a day later. The small mining facility orbited a rocky planet rich in rare minerals. After some tense communication, the outpost's human administrator agreed to help them, partly out of curiosity, partly from fear of the massive warship that had appeared on their doorstep. As loading drones transferred mining material to the Vengeance, Jack stood in a small observation room with Greg, the outpost administrator. You understand what helping us means, Jack said quietly. When the Krell find out, they'll punish us, Greg finished. His face was lined with years of hard work. We know the risk, but if what you've told me is true, about the war, about what this ship can do, it's worth it. Alarms suddenly blared throughout the outpost. A young woman burst into the room. Krell ships, she shouted, just dropped out of FTL. 5 cruisers and a command carrier. Jack's blood ran cold. He activated his comm. Victor, what's our status? Loading is 70% complete. Shields at 65%. Weapons at 52%. Not enough, Jack muttered. He turned to Greg. Get your people to safety. We'll draw them away. Back on the Vengeance, Jack rushed to the bridge. Lisa was already at her station. It's Admiral Dorax, she said grimly. The Krell's most decorated fleet commander. On the main screen, they could see the approaching Krell ships, sleek, predatory vessels forming a hunting formation around an enormous command carrier. They're hailing us, Tom reported. Jack nodded. Put them through. The screen changed to show Admiral Dorax. Even through the transmission, his presence was intimidating. Human vessel, Dorax said, his voice deep and cold. You have stolen Krell property. Surrender immediately or be destroyed. Jack glanced at Victor, who nodded slightly. This ship is not Krell property, Jack replied firmly. It's human-built with human technology. Technology your people tried to bury along with the truth. Dorax's upper arms crossed. You know nothing of truth, human. Your species was contained for the greater good of all spacefaring races. You mean for the greater good of the Krell Imperium. Jack countered. "We know about the FTL flaw, Admiral. We know why you really attacked us." For a moment, Dorax seemed shocked. Then his face hardened. "You will not leave this system alive," he hissed, cutting the transmission. "Krull ships moving into attack formation," Lisa reported. Jack sat in the captain's chair, feeling the weight of command. "Victor, what are our options?" "We cannot win a direct confrontation yet," the AI admitted. "But the Vengeance was designed for asymmetric warfare." "Meaning?" "We don't need to defeat them. We just need to survive long enough to complete our mission." Tom looked up. "The mining outpost has deep tunnels running through the planet's asteroid belt. We could use them to hide and strike." Jack nodded. "Like the old submarine warfare from Earth's history. Set course for the asteroid belt. Let's show Admiral Dorax that the hunt won't be as easy as he thinks." As the Vengeance accelerated toward the asteroid field, Jack watched the approaching Krull fleet. The forgotten ship was awakening more with each passing day. Soon, it would truly become the deadliest in the universe. But first, they needed to survive. For 2 days, the Vengeance played a deadly game of hide-and-seek among the asteroids. Admiral Dorax's fleet hunted relentlessly, but the ancient warship proved surprisingly elusive. In the ship's manufacturing bay, Tom worked tirelessly with the automated systems. His face was streaked with sweat and grease as he inspected a newly created component. "Amazing," he muttered. "This technology is centuries ahead of anything I've ever seen." Lisa entered the bay, carrying a datapad. "Jack wants an update. How are the repairs coming?" Tom held up the shiny piece of equipment. "Better than expected. This adaptive metal can integrate with damaged systems without full replacement. We're up to 78% on shields and 70% on weapons." "Good," Lisa said, glancing at her pad. "Because our luck is running out. The Krell have changed tactics. They're using sensor drones to map the entire asteroid field." Tom's expression darkened. "How long until they find us?" "Hours, maybe less." Back on the bridge, Jack studied the tactical display with Victor. The Krell ships were systematically cutting off escape routes, tightening their net around the Vengeance. "We need more time," Jack said. "Another day would get us to nearly full capacity." Victor's hologram indicated the map. "There is one option, Captain. This section of the asteroid field extends into the planet's radiation belt. The radiation would mask our signature, but it would also affect our shields." "And the crew?" "The command center has additional shielding. It would be unsafe elsewhere on the ship." Jack nodded. "Do it. Tom and Lisa can join me in the command center. Route all critical functions there." As the Vengeance pushed deeper into the radiation belt, the Krell sensor drones lost track of it. Admiral Dorax, watching from his command ship, slammed his fist on his chair. "Find that ship," he roared. "Deploy more drones. They cannot hide forever." His science officer approached cautiously. "Admiral, our analysis of the debris from our damaged cruiser is complete. The human vessel appears to be using technology that matches theoretical designs from our own research division." "What are you saying?" Dorax growled. "The humans may have solved the FTL stability problem that our scientists have been working on for decades." Dorax went very still. "The Imperium Council must never know this. Find that ship and destroy it completely. No debris, no survivors." Inside the radiation belt, the Vengeance continued its rapid healing. With Tom's guidance, the manufacturing systems worked at maximum capacity. Repair drones swarmed over damaged sections, replacing worn parts with new ones. In the command center, Jack reviewed the ship's capabilities with Victor. The AI displayed a complete status report. Shields now at 91%. Weapons at 85%. Engines at full capacity, Victor reported. "Most importantly, the adaptive defense system is fully online." "Explain that again," Jack said. "How exactly does it work?" "The system analyzes incoming attacks and reconfigures our defenses in real time," Victor explained. Each hit we take makes us stronger against similar attacks. Additionally, our weapons systems can adapt to target enemy vulnerabilities. Lissa looked up from her console. Movement detected. The Krell fleet is repositioning. They're setting up a blockade around the radiation belt. They're preparing for our exit, Jack said. How many ships? All 6, Lisa replied. They've called in reinforcements too. 3 more cruisers just arrived. Jack's face hardened. 9 ships, including a command carrier. Those aren't great odds, even with our technology. They are also broadcasting a message, Victor added, to all nearby systems. Jack frowned. Play it. Admiral Dorax's voice filled the command center. Attention all vessels. A dangerous human terrorist ship has been cornered in the Outpost 37 system. As a precaution, the outlying human mining colony must be evacuated immediately. Any humans remaining after 6 hours will be considered part of the terrorist faction. He's going to punish the mining colony for helping us, Lisa said quietly. Tom shook his head. There are 5,000 people on that outpost. They'll never evacuate in time. Jack stood up, his mind racing. He's forcing our hand. We either stay hidden and let those people suffer, or we come out fighting. Even at near full capacity, we cannot defeat 9 Krell warships simultaneously, Victor cautioned. Then we don't fight them all at once, Jack said. He turned to the tactical display. Show me the Krell formation. The screen displayed the enemy ships, arranged in a half circle around the edge of the radiation belt. They're expecting us to run, Jack observed. But what if we don't? What if we target just one ship, the command carrier? Admiral Dorax's ship, Lisa asked. It's the most heavily armed and shielded. Yes, but it's also the brain of their operation, Jack replied. Victor, can we send a targeted transmission to the other human colonies? Something the Krell can't block. The Vengeance has a quantum communication system designed to bypass standard jamming, Victor confirmed. What do you have in mind, Captain? Jack's eyes gleamed with determination. The truth. It's time everyone knew it. Admiral Dorax stood on the bridge of his command carrier, watching the radiation belt. His fleet was positioned perfectly. When the human ship emerged, it would face overwhelming firepower from all directions. Admiral, his communication officer called urgently. We're detecting unauthorized transmissions across all frequencies. Jam them. Dorax ordered. We can't. It's using some kind of technology we've never seen before. On screens across dozens of worlds, human colonies, alien outposts, even Krell military bases, a message began playing. It showed technical data about the Krell FTL drives, the fatal flaws in their design, and evidence of the Krell leadership's decision to attack Earth rather than acknowledge the problem. Most damning of all was historical footage from the Vengeance's databanks, showing the unprovoked first strike against Earth's cities. Shut it down. Dorax roared, but it was too late. At that moment, alarms blared across his ship. The Vengeance had emerged from the radiation belt, not running away, but charging directly at the command carrier. All ships, open fire. Dorax commanded. The Krell fleet unleashed a barrage of weapons. Energy beams and missiles streaked toward the human warship. But something impossible happened. The Vengeance's shields shimmered, adapting to each impact. What damage it did take seemed to heal almost instantly. On the bridge of the Vengeance, Jack gripped his chair as the ship shuddered under the assault. Adaptive defense at maximum, Victor reported. Learning and counteracting their weapon signatures. Target the command carrier's engines and weapons, Jack ordered. Disable, don't destroy. The ancient human warship fired. Its weapons struck with surgical precision, cutting through the Krell vessel's defenses as if they weren't there. Throughout the sector, ships of many species watched the broadcast and the battle. They saw the forgotten human ship, outnumbered 9-1, fighting not for destruction, but for truth. As the command carrier's main weapons went offline, Jack opened a channel. Admiral Dorax, this ends now. Your fleet has seen the truth. The other worlds have seen it too. The war began because your leaders chose pride over safety. But we're not seeking revenge. Jack looked at Victor, then at his friends, before continuing. The vengeance carries the solution to the FTL flaw. We're offering it freely to all species, including the Krell. This ship was never just a weapon. It was humanity's gift to the future, a future we can all share. One by one, the Krell ships powered down their weapons. Even Dorax, faced with the undeniable truth and the superior technology of the ancient warship, realized the battle was lost. The forgotten ship had become the deadliest in the universe, not through destruction, but through the power of long-buried truth. Jack Harlow, captain of the UES Vengeance, looked out at the stars and smiled. His ancestor would be proud. The ship had fulfilled its true mission at last. The message came on a Tuesday. After decades of sending signals into the void, humanity had almost given up hope of a response. Then, without warning, every radio telescope on Earth picked up the same transmission. It was clear, structured, and unmistakably artificial. James Miller was eating a sandwich in the NASA cafeteria when the alarm started blaring. As the lead communications specialist for the International Space Coalition, he was among the first to see the translated message. Greetings, people of Earth. We are the Galactic Concord, a union of civilized species. Your signals have reached our outer monitoring stations. We wish to establish formal contact. Within hours, governments worldwide scrambled to form a response team. James found himself appointed as humanity's primary diplomatic representative, not because he was the most qualified diplomat, but because he understood communication systems better than anyone else on the planet. I'm an engineer, not a politician, James protested when told of his new role. Exactly, said Director Patel, his boss. They'll respect technical knowledge more than smooth talking. Besides, you think faster on your feet than anyone I know. 3 days later, a sleek silver ship appeared in Earth's orbit. It made no attempt to hide or use stealth. It simply arrived, positioning itself in full view of Earth's observation systems. The ship was unlike anything humans had built. Nearly a mile long, its hull flowed like liquid metal, with no visible seams or joints. It dwarfed the International Space Station, making humanity's greatest space achievement look like a child's toy by comparison. A shuttle detached from the main vessel and descended toward the designated landing site, a hastily prepared airfield outside of Geneva. World leaders, scientists, and military personnel gathered to witness humanity's first extraterrestrial visitors. James stood at the front of the welcoming committee, trying to control his breathing. The shuttle touched down without a sound, hovering momentarily before settling on the tarmac. A door slid open, revealing 3 figures. The aliens walked with a smooth grace despite their unusual appearance. Their leader stood nearly 7 feet tall, with iridescent blue skin that seemed to shimmer in the sunlight. 4 arms emerged from a broad torso, and a crest of fin-like appendages crowned its head. I am Admiral Dorax, the alien said, its voice surprisingly clear and understandable through what must have been some kind of translation device. Chief Representative of the Galactic Concord Assessment Division. James stepped forward. James Miller, representing Earth. We welcome you to our planet. Admiral Dorax's large, multifaceted eyes studied James carefully. Your species has achieved much in a short time. However, we have concerns about your readiness to join the wider galactic community. The following days were filled with meetings, presentations, and tours of Earth's major facilities. The aliens were polite but clearly unimpressed by much of what they saw. During a tour of NASA's Spacecraft Development Center, Admiral Dorax examined the latest deep space vessel prototype with what James was beginning to recognize as disappointment. This is your most advanced ship? The Admiral asked, running a 3-fingered hand along the hull. Yes, James replied. It's designed to reach Mars in just 30 days. Admiral Dorax made a sound that might have been a sigh. At such speeds, you would be unable to outrun even the slowest patrol vessels of the Void Swarm. The Void Swarm? James asked. One of many threats that exist beyond your solar system, Dorax explained. They consume worlds with insufficient defenses. This is why the Concord exists. Mutual protection. That evening, in a private meeting with Earth's Security Council, the aliens were more direct. Your planet possesses valuable resources and a strategic position, said Dorax. But your fleet is virtually non-existent. We've focused our efforts on sustainable development and solving our own problems before expanding outward, explained the UN Secretary General. Admiral Dorax's fins flattened against his head. A gesture James had learned indicated skepticism. Noble goals, but the galaxy does not reward the unprepared, said the Admiral. The Concord can offer protection, but we must assess whether Earth would be a burden or an asset to our alliance. Later, James found himself alone with one of the alien delegation's junior members, an engineer named Krell. Unlike the others, Krell seemed genuinely curious about human technology. Your power generation methods are unusual, Krell said as they examined a fusion research facility. You've taken different paths than most species. Necessity drives innovation, James replied. We've had to work with limited resources. Krell's head tilted. Yet you accomplish much with little. Our sensors detected over 2,000 satellites in orbit, but only a handful of actual vessels. Why build so many small devices instead of proper ships? Different purposes require different tools, James explained. We network our systems together rather than building single large platforms. Krell seemed to consider this. Interesting approach. Admiral Dorax will still be concerned about your defensive capabilities, however. Why is the Concord so focused on military strength? James asked carefully. Krell's voice lowered. Because we have seen what happens to worlds that cannot defend themselves. The Void Swarm has consumed 17 civilizations in the past century alone. The Concord was formed after the third extinction. James felt a chill. And you think Earth could be a target? All resource-rich worlds are targets, Krell replied. And your planet has already been broadcasting its location for decades. That night, James couldn't sleep. He reviewed everything he'd learned about the Concord. They seemed benevolent, but their obsession with fleet size and military power was troubling. If Earth wanted to join the galactic community, they would need to prove their worth. The following morning, James made a proposal to Director Patel. They're judging us by their standards, not ours, he said. We need to show them what humans can really do. And how do you suggest we do that? Patel asked. James smiled. By playing to our strengths. If they want to see our fleet, let's show them something they've never imagined. Admiral Dorax watched from the observation deck as Earth rotated slowly below. His second-in-command approached with a data tablet. Assessment results, Admiral. Their technology is at least a century behind Concord standards. Their space vessels number fewer than 50, and none have weapons capable of repelling even a minor incursion. Dorax's fins rippled with concern. They are so vulnerable, yet so unaware of the danger. They think their isolation protects them. Shall I prepare the protection proposal? The standard resource tribute in exchange for a defensive fleet. Dorax considered for a moment. Yes, but include additional cultural and technological assessments. There's something about these humans that troubles me. They lack proper ships, yet they've somehow survived and thrived. I want to understand how before we proceed. Little did the Admiral know, humanity was about to redefine what it meant to have a fleet. The Concord assessment team arrived 1 week after Admiral Dorax's initial visit. 5 alien specialists, each an expert in different fields, transported down to Earth in a smaller shuttle that gleamed like polished obsidian under the morning sun. James Miller waited for them at the newly established Interspecies Coordination Center, a repurposed convention hall in Geneva. Beside him stood Tom Reed and Anna Wilson, Earth's top scientists in propulsion physics and materials engineering. Remember, James whispered to his colleagues, "They're looking for weakness. Don't give them any." The lead assessor, a tall alien named Vex, stepped forward. Unlike Admiral Dorax, Vex's skin was a pale green with geometric patterns that seemed to shift as he moved. "We will begin our evaluation immediately," Vex announced without preamble. "First, we must inspect your orbital defenses." James exchanged glances with Tom. "Of course, we've prepared transport to our space elevator in Ecuador." Vex's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "Space elevator. You have functioning gravity manipulation technology." "No," Anna replied. "We use carbon nanotube cables. Simple physics." The aliens conferred quietly among themselves. James caught the word primitive several times. "We will use our own transport," Vex decided. "It will be faster." The human delegation soon found themselves aboard the alien shuttle, rising through the atmosphere at a speed that made Earth's fastest rockets seem like bicycles. The curve of the planet appeared below them, blue and white, and breathtaking. "Your planet is quite beautiful," commented one of the aliens, a specialist named Mira who focused on resource assessment. "Rich in water and biodiversity. Very appealing to the Void Swarm." "You keep mentioning this Void Swarm," Tom said. "What exactly are they?" Vex gestured toward a view screen, which flickered to life, showing something that resembled a massive cloud of metallic insects. "They are a collective consciousness that spreads across the galaxy. They consume worlds, strip mining them of all useful elements, and leaving lifeless husks behind." The humans watched in horror as the recording showed an orange-colored planet being swarmed, and then gradually turning gray as its resources were extracted. "This happened 3 standard cycles ago," Vex said. "The planet had minimal defenses, much like Earth." James felt a chill run down his spine. "And that's why you're so focused on our fleet capacity." "Precisely," Vex replied. "Now, please direct us to your primary defense vessels." The next few hours were uncomfortable. The assessment team visited the International Space Station, examined Earth's handful of military satellites, and reviewed plans for the Mars Defense Initiative, humanity's most ambitious space military project to date. With each inspection, the aliens' disappointment became more evident. "This is insufficient," Vex finally declared as they examined the blueprints for Earth's newest spacecraft, a vessel designed to intercept asteroids. This would not survive first contact with even a scout party from the Void Swarm. Tom Reed, who had been quiet for most of the tour, finally spoke up. "Perhaps you'd be interested in seeing our experimental propulsion lab." Vex seemed ready to dismiss the suggestion, but one of the other assessors, a technical specialist named Orion, raised a hand. "I would like to see this." At the Global Advanced Propulsion Laboratory in Switzerland, Tom led the group through security and into a massive underground facility. At the center of the main chamber sat what looked like a small metal sphere, about the size of a beach ball, surrounded by complex equipment. "What is this?" Orion asked, genuine curiosity in his voice for the first time. "We call it the gravity lens drive," Tom explained. "It creates a focused distortion in space-time, allowing for movement without traditional propulsion." "Impossible," Vex said flatly. "Your species does not have the mathematical knowledge for such technology." Tom smiled slightly. "Would you like a demonstration?" Before the aliens could respond, Tom activated a control panel. The sphere hummed softly, then vanished. A moment later, it reappeared on the other side of the room. The aliens fell silent. "How far can this device travel?" Orion asked finally. "Currently, we've tested it to the moon and back," Anna Wilson said, stepping forward. "But theoretically, there's no upper limit to the distance. The real challenge is precision targeting over longer jumps." "And how many vessels have you equipped with this technology?" Vex demanded. James interceded. "None yet. It's still experimental." Vex's skin patterns darkened. "So you have promising technology that you failed to implement in your defense systems. This confirms our concerns about your species' readiness." As they left the lab, Orion fell into step beside James. Your approach is unusual. Most species develop standard fleet vessels before attempting such advanced physics. Humans tend to do things our own way, James replied. Sometimes we skip steps. Skipping steps leads to vulnerability. Vex called from ahead of them. The Concord protocols exist for a reason. Back at the Coordination Center, the assessment team prepared their formal report. James and his colleagues waited anxiously in an adjoining room. They're not impressed, Anna said quietly, no matter what we show them. Tom nodded. They're judging us by their standards. Fleet size, ship tonnage, weapon yields. They're missing the bigger picture. Which is? James asked. That humans have never approached space the way they do, Tom replied. We network. We adapt. We find solutions that don't require brute force. The door opened, and Vex entered with the assessment team. He carried what looked like a crystal tablet. We have completed our evaluation, Vex announced. Earth's defensive capabilities are severely inadequate by Concord standards. You have promising theoretical research but no practical implementation. Your orbital assets are unshielded and vulnerable. James took a deep breath. And your recommendation? The Concord is prepared to offer provisional membership and protection, Vex stated, in exchange for resource rights and technology sharing. What kind of resources? Anna asked sharply. 20% of your planetary rare earth elements, 30% of your water ice from your polar regions, and mining rights to your lunar surface, Mira replied matter-of-factly. Standard rates for protection of a pre-fleet civilization. Tom's face reddened. That's a very generous offer, James cut in, giving Tom a warning glance. We'll need to discuss this with our world leaders. Of course, Vex said. Admiral Dorax will return in 3 of your weeks to receive your answer. I suggest you use that time wisely to consider the alternative. After the aliens departed, James called an emergency meeting with Earth's Defense Council. They think we're helpless, he told the assembled leaders. They're offering protection in exchange for what amounts to colonization. What choice do we have? Asked the Russian general. You've seen what this void swarm can do. James looked at Tom and Anna. We need to show them what humans can really do when our backs are against the wall. We need to think differently. What are you suggesting? Director Patil asked. James smiled grimly. If they want to see a fleet, let's give them something they've never imagined. In orbit above Earth, a small probe from the Concorde ship continued to monitor all transmissions. It recorded a sudden increase in global communications, emergency meetings of world governments, and the mobilization of scientific teams worldwide. Aboard the main vessel, Admiral Dorax reviewed the assessment report with concern. They have potential, he mused, but they lack the fundamental understanding of galactic threats. His second-in-command nodded. The resource agreement is fair. Many worlds have accepted similar terms. Perhaps, Dorax replied, watching Earth rotate slowly on the view screen. But something about these humans troubles me. They keep surprising us. I wonder what they'll do next. 3 weeks passed in a flurry of global activity. In every major nation, scientists worked around the clock. Military bases buzzed with unusual movements. Satellite launches increased threefold. Small, seemingly insignificant devices that the Concorde observers dismissed as primitive monitoring equipment. James Miller barely slept. Dark circles formed under his eyes as he coordinated between governments, scientists, and military leaders. The plan was ambitious, perhaps impossible, but it was Earth's best hope. Admiral Dorax's ship returned exactly on schedule, appearing suddenly in orbit like a silver needle against the black of space. This time, the Admiral brought a larger delegation, 20 senior Concorde officials in 3 shuttles that descended toward the Geneva landing site. They're showing off their fleet strength, Anna Wilson muttered as they watched the shuttles land in perfect formation. Subtle intimidation tactics. Let them posture, Tom Reed replied. It'll make what comes next even better. James straightened his tie. Remember the plan. Stay calm, no matter what they say. Admiral Dorax emerged from the lead shuttle, his blue skin catching the sunlight. Behind him came Vex and several new aliens of different species, representatives from the Concorde's governing council. James Miller, Dorax said, inclining his head slightly. We have reviewed the assessment report in detail and come to deliver the Concorde's formal proposal. The meeting took place in the Grand Assembly Hall of the United Nations. Representatives from every Earth nation filled the chamber, facing the alien delegation across a wide table. A tall, insect-like alien named Counselor Xin stepped forward, mandibles clicking as she spoke through her translator. The Galactic Concorde has existed for 12,000 standard cycles, she began. In that time, we have incorporated 317 worlds into our protective alliance. Each member contributes according to their abilities and receives protection according to their needs. Holographic displays activated around the room, showing images of various planets and space stations. These worlds once stood alone, as Earth does now. Sin continued. Many no longer exist. The images shifted to show barren, lifeless planets. The void swarm shows no mercy to the unprepared. The UN Secretary-General leaned forward. We understand the threat, Counselor. What exactly are you proposing? Admiral Dorax took over. The Concorde will station a defensive fleet in your system, 12 capital ships and supporting vessels. In exchange, Earth will provide resources as outlined in our proposal, plus hosting rights for 3 Concorde bases on your planet and 5 in your orbital space. A murmur ran through the human delegation. And if we decline? Asked the Secretary-General. Dorax's fins flattened against his head. The Concorde cannot force protection on any world. But understand this. The void swarm is approaching this sector. Our intelligence suggests it will reach your system within 1 standard cycle, approximately 14 Earth months. Without Concorde protection, survival is unlikely. The room fell silent. James stood up. Admiral, Counselor, respected delegates, Earth appreciates the Concorde's concern for our safety. We request 3 days to discuss your proposal among our world leaders. 3 days is acceptable. Dorax agreed, though I must emphasize the urgency of your situation. After the aliens departed, the human delegation exploded into argument. This is extortion, shouted the representative from India. But what choice do we have? Countered the Brazilian delegate. You saw what happened to those other worlds. The resource demands would cripple our economies, added the European Union representative. And the bases on Earth. They're essentially asking for military occupation. The debate raged for hours, with no clear consensus emerging. Finally, James asked for silence. We have another option, he said quietly. Over the past 3 weeks, Tom Reed and Anna Wilson have been coordinating a global scientific effort. I believe they have something to show us. Tom activated a holographic display at the center of the room. The Concorde is judging us by their standards, massive ships, conventional weapons. But that's never been humanity's strength. We adapt, we innovate, we find unexpected solutions. The display showed a network of satellites, thousands of them, far more than Earth currently had in orbit. This is our proposed planetary defense network, Anna explained. Using modified versions of Tom's gravity lens technology, we can create a shield around Earth that no conventional fleet could penetrate. How is this possible? Asked the Chinese representative. The technology is still experimental. It was, Tom said with a small smile. Until we had the motivation to perfect it. The equations work. The miniaturization is possible. We've successfully tested a prototype that protected a 10-kilometer area, and we can scale this up to protect an entire planet. The skepticism in the Secretary-General's voice was clear. We can, Anna confirmed, but we'll need resources from every nation, and we'll need to repurpose most of our existing satellites. How long would this take? Asked the U.S. President. James looked grave. 3 months for the basic network, 6 for full coverage. The Concorde gives us 3 days to decide, reminded the Russian president. Then we give them an answer they don't expect, James replied. We tell them we need 3 months to prepare for their protection, while we actually build our own solution. The Secretary General looked troubled. You're suggesting we deceive the Concorde. I'm suggesting we buy time, James corrected. If our system works, we can negotiate as equals, not as suppliants. If it fails, their offer will still stand. After hours of further debate, the world leaders reached a consensus. They would pursue Earth's own defense system while delaying the Concorde. 3 days later, Admiral Dorax and the Concorde delegation returned for Earth's answer. The Secretary General addressed them formally. The nations of Earth have carefully considered your proposal. We are grateful for the Concorde's concern for our safety. Dorax's posture straightened, anticipating acceptance. However, the Secretary General continued, we require 3 months to prepare our world for your protection. We must relocate certain facilities, adjust our resource production, and prepare our people for this significant change. Admiral Dorax's fins rippled with surprise. 3 months is an unusual request. The standard integration period is 1 week. Earth is not a standard world, James interjected smoothly. Our political systems require time for proper implementation. Surely the Concorde, with its thousands of years of diplomatic experience, understands the need for cultural sensitivity. The Concorde delegates conferred among themselves in low tones. Finally, Councillor Xin stepped forward. 3 months will be granted, but no more. The threat approaches, and the Concorde fleet must establish defensive positions before the Void Swarm arrives. If Earth is not ready when we return, we cannot guarantee your safety. We understand, the Secretary General replied. Earth will be ready. After the aliens departed, James gathered with Tom and Anna in a secure room beneath the UN building. 3 months, Anna said, her voice tight with tension. Is it enough time? Tom ran a hand through his hair. It has to be. Every scientific mind on the planet is working on this. We've already launched the first test satellites. James looked at the global map on the wall, showing research centers lit up across every continent. Humanity has always done its best work under pressure. Now we just need to do the impossible. In orbit, Admiral Dorax watched Earth from his command deck. They're hiding something, he said to his second-in-command. The humans are planning something. Should we maintain surveillance? Dorax considered this. Increase monitoring. If they're building ships, we need to know. And if they're not building ships? Dorax's fins flattened in puzzlement. Then I cannot imagine what defense they think they're creating. Without a fleet, they are simply waiting to be consumed. Little did the Admiral know. The greatest fleet humanity would build wasn't ships at all, but something the Concorde had never imagined possible. The next 3 months transformed Earth in ways no one could have predicted. Old rivalries between nations faded as humanity united against a common threat. Resources poured into the Planetary Defense Network project, codenamed SHIELD. James Miller set up headquarters in a repurposed aircraft hangar outside of London. World leaders had given him extraordinary authority to coordinate the global effort. Maps and screens covered the walls, tracking the progress of thousands of individual projects worldwide. Status report, James called out as he entered the command center one morning, 51 days into their 3-month window. Anna Wilson looked up from her workstation, dark circles under her eyes. We've launched 412 satellites so far. The first orbital ring is nearly complete. And the power issue? James asked. Tom Reed appeared, carrying a steaming cup of coffee, his 5th of the day. Solved, mostly. The fusion boosters are working. Each satellite can now generate 3 times the energy we initially calculated. What about the Concorde observers? James lowered his voice. Anna grimaced, still watching. They've positioned 4 monitoring vessels in high orbit. They're tracking our satellite launches. Let them watch, Tom said with a tired smile. They're looking for ships. They don't understand what we're building." A young technician rushed up to them. "Sir, the test of the Australia sector is ready." They hurried to the main control room, where representatives from dozens of nations had gathered. On the massive central screen, a map showed a section of Australia's outback glowing blue. "We've activated 50 satellites positioned over the test zone," Anna explained to the assembled officials. "If this works, they'll create a localized shield effect covering approximately 1,000 square kilometers." "And if it doesn't work?" asked the Australian Prime Minister. Tom's expression was grim. "Then we need to reconsider our approach. Fast." Anna initiated the countdown. "Shield activation in 3, 2, 1. On the screen, the blue area pulsed once, then stabilized. Data streams poured in from monitoring stations. "Energy field holding steady," called out a technician. "Gravity lens distortion at optimal levels." "Begin the test," James ordered. On another screen, they watched as fighter jets approached the shield area. They fired missiles at the protected zone. As each missile hit the invisible barrier, it seemed to slow, then stop completely, hanging in midair before gently dropping to the ground. A cheer erupted in the control room. "It's working," Anna exclaimed, grabbing Tom's arm. "The gravity distortion is functioning exactly as predicted." "Don't celebrate yet," Tom cautioned, though he was smiling. "This is just one small section. We need global coverage, and we're nowhere close to finished." James addressed the gathered officials. "You've seen what we can do. Now we need to triple our efforts. Every nation needs to increase production of the satellites. Every launch facility on Earth needs to be operating 24/7. The resources required are enormous," said the German Chancellor. "We're already stretching our economies to the breaking point." "It's still less than what the Concorde demanded," James replied firmly. "And when we're done, we'll own our defense system. We won't be paying tribute to alien protectors for generations." That convinced them. In the days that followed, the global effort intensified. Factories around the world converted to satellite production. Rockets launched hourly from sites on every continent. Children watched the night sky fill with new stars, the growing constellation of humanity's shield. In orbit, the Concorde observation vessels monitored this activity with increasing confusion. "They continue to launch small satellites," reported the alien observer to Admiral Dorax. "Over 800 now. But no defensive vessels. No weapons platforms. Just a network of simple communication devices." Admiral Dorax studied the reports with his 4 eyes narrowed. "These are not simple communication devices. They're too numerous, too precisely positioned." "What else could they be?" asked his second-in-command. "They have no offensive capabilities we can detect." "I don't know," Dorax admitted. "But the humans are executing a coordinated global plan. We should inform the Concorde Council." Back on Earth, progress continued at a frantic pace. The satellite network grew day by day, but problems arose as well. "We're behind schedule in the Pacific sector," Anna reported during a late-night meeting, 70 days into their countdown. "Launch facilities in that region are overtaxed." James studied the global map. "Redirect launches from South America to cover the gap. We can't have holes in the network." "There's another problem," Tom added grimly. "The power draw is higher than we calculated. When we activate the full shield, we might experience global power outages." "For how long?" James asked. "Minutes, maybe hours. We can't be sure." James thought for a moment. "Warn all nations to prepare backup systems for critical infrastructure. Hospitals, communications, military facilities. We'll have to weather the blackout until the system stabilizes." As the deadline approached, tension mounted. With just 1 week remaining before the Concorde's return, the satellite network was nearly complete. Over 3,000 devices positioned in precise orbital patterns around Earth. But they had yet to test the full system. "We only get one chance at this," James told the emergency session of the UN Security Council. When the Concorde returns, they'll expect to see our answer. If we activate the shield too early, they might attack before it's stable. Too late, and they'll think we're rejecting their protection. Can we be certain it will work? Asked the Secretary General. James looked at Tom and Anna, who exchanged glances. No, Tom answered honestly. The math works. The small-scale tests worked. But a planetary shield has never been attempted before. There are variables we can't predict. What we can promise, Anna added, is that it's our best chance. If we surrender to the Concorde, we lose our autonomy forever. This way, we control our own fate. The Council voted unanimously to proceed. On the final day before the Concorde's scheduled return, Earth made its preparations. Hospitals switched to backup power. Military forces went on high alert, and in the SHIELD Command Center, James, Tom, and Anna made their final checks. All satellites report ready, Anna confirmed, her voice tense. Network integrity at 98.7%. Tom looked up from his calculations. It's as good as it's going to get. The remaining gaps are small enough that the field should bridge them. James took a deep breath and looked at the countdown clock. 12 hours until the Concorde's return. Begin the activation sequence, he ordered. Let's show the galaxy what humans can do. In orbit, Admiral Dorax's flagship appeared with perfect timing, accompanied by a fleet of 12 massive warships. As they approached Earth, the Admiral observed the planet with growing confusion. Where are their defenses? He asked. I see no fleet, no orbital weapons platforms, just this strange network of satellites. His tactical officer suddenly straightened. Admiral, we're detecting unusual energy readings from those satellites. There. A ripple of blue light spread across Earth's atmosphere, starting at the North Pole and racing toward the equator. As the Concorde fleet watched in astonishment, the entire planet seemed to shimmer for a moment before being enveloped in a translucent, iridescent shell. What is this? Dorax whispered, his fins extended in surprise. What have they done? Admiral Dorax stared at the shimmering blue field surrounding Earth, his fins twitching with confusion and alarm. Around him, the Concorde fleet hung in space, 12 massive warships built to protect planets from the most dangerous threat in the galaxy. Yet now, they faced something entirely unexpected. Analysis, Dorax demanded, his voice sharp. His science officer worked frantically at the control panel. It appears to be some kind of energy field generated by their satellite network. The field is distorting space-time around the planet. Can our weapons penetrate it? The tactical officer ran simulations. Unknown, Admiral. We have no record of this technology in our database. Dorax's second-in-command leaned closer. Should we consider this a hostile action? They've created a barrier without Concorde approval. The Admiral was silent for a moment, studying the blue sphere that Earth had become. No, this is interesting. Open a communication channel. On Earth, in the SHIELD Command Center, alarms sounded as the Concorde fleet appeared in orbit. SHIELD holding at 94% capacity, Anna reported, her fingers flying over the controls. Power drain is significant, but within acceptable parameters. Global blackouts reported across non-essential systems, added a technician. Emergency backups functioning as planned. James Miller stood before the main screen, watching the alien ships. They're not attacking. That's something. The communication system chimed. Incoming transmission from the Concorde flagship. Put it through, James ordered. Admiral Dorax's face appeared on the screen, his expression unreadable to human eyes. James Miller, the Admiral said evenly. It seems Earth has been productive during our absence. James straightened his shoulders. Admiral Dorax, welcome back. As you can see, we've developed our own approach to planetary defense. So I observe, Dorax replied. An unusual solution. The Concorde records show no similar defensive system in the known galaxy. We're creative that way, James said with a small smile. Indeed. The Admiral's fins rippled slightly. However, this barrier remains untested against actual threats. The Concorde offer of protection still stands. Before James could respond, another alarm blared through the command center. Multiple jump signatures detected, shouted the sensor operator. Large vessels appearing at the edge of the solar system. The screen split to show a new image, a swarm of dark, insect-like ships emerging from what looked like tears in space. There were hundreds of them, perhaps thousands. The void swarm, Anna whispered, her face pale. They're early. Admiral Dorax's image showed he was receiving the same information. It seems the Concorde intelligence was incorrect about the swarm's timeline. They are here now. On the screen, the swarm of ships began moving toward Earth with frightening speed. Your shield is untested. Dorax continued urgently. Allow the Concorde fleet to take defensive positions. This is no longer a negotiation. It is survival. James looked at Tom and Anna, then at the approaching swarm. Making a decision, he turned back to the screen. Admiral, we welcome the Concorde's assistance, but we will rely on our shield as the primary defense. Position your vessels behind our protective barrier. Dorax's eyes widened. You expect us to trust an untested defense system. We do, James replied firmly, and we're about to show you why. The Admiral hesitated, then nodded sharply. Very well. The Concorde fleet will hold position and observe, but we stand ready to engage if your shield fails. As the communication ended, Tom moved next to James. Bold move. Let's hope it works. Activate secondary systems, James ordered. Prepare drone deployment. Throughout the 3 months of building the shield, humanity had been working on another secret project. Hidden in underground facilities and abandoned mines, they had constructed thousands of small, unmanned vessels, each no bigger than a car, but powered by the same gravity lens technology as the shield. Drone swarm ready for deployment, reported the military coordinator. Launch bays opening worldwide. On screens around the room, they watched as the void swarm approached, a dark cloud against the stars, moving with singular purpose toward the resource-rich planet. They're testing the shield, Anna said, monitoring the energy readings, probing for weaknesses. The first void swarm ships reached the blue barrier and immediately fired energy weapons. The shield rippled but held, absorbing the attacks. Shield integrity holding at 91%. Anna reported. The gravity distortion is working. Their weapons are being dissipated. More and more swarm ships arrived, concentrating their fire on different sections of the shield. The blue barrier flickered in spots but continued to hold. They're surrounding the planet, Tom observed. Looking for a weak point. James nodded grimly. Time to show them our second surprise. Launch the drones. Across Earth, hidden bay doors opened in mountains, deserts, and beneath the oceans. Thousands of small, sleek vessels rose into the sky, punching through the shield via carefully calculated exit points. In orbit, Admiral Dorax watched in astonishment as Earth seemed to sprout its own swarm. Thousands of tiny ships emerging from the planet's surface. What are those? His tactical officer asked in amazement. I believe, Dorax said slowly, that Earth has a fleet after all. The human drones engaged the void swarm with devastating efficiency. Unlike conventional vessels, they used miniaturized gravity lens technology to create localized distortions in space. Enemy ships found themselves suddenly slowed, their weapons firing at targets that seemed to shift position instantly. Drone performance exceeding expectations, reported the military coordinator. Swarm ships unable to compensate for the gravity shifts. On the main screen, they watched as the human drones darted between the larger enemy vessels. The void swarm, accustomed to overwhelming planets with sheer numbers, found itself outmaneuvered. They're retreating from Sector 7, Anna called out. The drones are herding them away from the shield weak points. Hour after hour, the battle continued. The shield flickered but held. The drones, coordinated by Earth's combined military AI systems, adapted to each swarm tactic. When a drone was destroyed, 2 more took its place. Finally, after nearly 10 hours of continuous fighting, the void swarm began to withdraw. Ship after ship jumped away until only scattered remnants remained, quickly mopped up by the drone forces. In the SHIELD command center, exhausted staff looked at each other in disbelief. "We did it," Tom said quietly. "The SHIELD held, and the drones performed beyond all projections," Anna added, checking the final statistics. "We lost only 22% of our forces." James allowed himself a smile. Now for the diplomatic part. Admiral Dorax requested permission to enter Earth's atmosphere with a small delegation. The meeting took place in the same United Nations hall where the Concorde had delivered their ultimatum 3 months earlier, but the atmosphere could not have been more different. "The Concorde Council extends its congratulations to Earth," Dorax began, his tone respectful. "Your defense of your world was unprecedented." "Thank you, Admiral," the Secretary General replied. "We hope this demonstrates that Earth is ready to join the galactic community as an equal partner, not as a protectorate." Dorax's fins extended fully, a sign of respect in his species. "More than ready. Your approach to planetary defense has shown innovation that the Concorde has not seen in 1,000 years. The gravity lens technology alone could revolutionize our defensive strategies across the galaxy." "We're open to sharing our technology," James said. "As part of a mutual exchange, of course." "Of course," Dorax agreed. "The Concorde would like to propose a new arrangement, full membership with technology sharing in both directions. No resource tributes. No military occupation. A true alliance." The Secretary General smiled. "That sounds like a much better starting point for negotiations." Later, as the formal meetings continued, James found himself alone with Admiral Dorax in a quiet corner of the building. "I must ask," Dorax said, his voice low, "why did you not tell us what you were building? We might have helped." James looked thoughtful. "Would you have believed us, or would you have seen it as a desperate attempt to avoid your protection?" Dorax's fins rippled in what James now recognized as amusement. "Perhaps you are right. We have grown accustomed to being the protectors. It did not occur to us that protection could take such a different form." "That's the thing about humans," James replied with a smile. "We rarely solve problems the way others expect. You thought we needed a fleet of big ships, but we created something better." "Indeed," Dorax agreed, "and I suspect the galaxy will never be quite the same because of it." As night fell over Geneva, Earth's new satellite constellation glimmered in the sky, thousands of points of light forming a protective net around the planet. Not the fleet the Concorde had expected, but something uniquely human and far more effective than anyone could have imagined.